Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for passing by. Thank you so much for subscribing. And thank you very much for watching my videos. You are greatly appreciated. I'm way past the politics, guys. I won't speak on it anymore. Back to my topic that I was on before I head into the entire politics realm and fever like everyone else. So I was listening to Chin and he was speaking on the artists, the older artists in dancehall and how they structure their music and present it on stage. And they lack the ability to modernize how they present their music of the 90s to the younger generation. And I was listening to him, and what he said made a lot of sense. I can agree with it to a point. And the reason it's to a point is if you are giving a sound advice, you have to be careful of who you are giving the advice to. And when you understand who you are dealing with, you realize that a lot of things that you say, even when it makes sense, it will still fall on deaf ears. There are persons out there who believe that they are right at all times. There are persons out there who believe that they are beyond reproach and you can't say anything to them. And at all time, they are trying to prove their manhood, their over masculinity, their ego, their testosterone, their straightness, their badness, their hype, all of this type of energy that they have for absolutely no reason. When you really check it out, especially when you're getting older in a game that you have been in for decades, you should be sitting comfortable somewhere, especially on a throne. You should be sitting comfortable somewhere, demanding your respect, not even demanding, wrong choice of words, sitting comfortable somewhere, being respected, being welcomed by an audience that you decide to perform in front of. When we look at who we're dealing with in dancehall, it's not like that. For some, it is like that. You can still caution them, no matter their age, you can still guide them. But for others out there, you can't. You just have to allow them to face public humiliation, embarrassment, while on their quest of humiliating other persons, diminishing other persons' accomplishment, trying to discredit other persons out there who are in the game, especially persons who came after them and stuff. So when we look into this type of argument, I am just saying that I pull a Shabba and I said, had Shabba been on the same stage where Alkaline was, and had Shabba been the one closing the show, I am almost certain that the great Shabba Ranking would have been well received and well respected. I am almost certain. When I look into the life of Shabba during his entire tenure as a dancehall artist, we have seen the controversies that came out and him losing everything, him being dropped from his record label and stuff like that. Shabba stood 10 toes down. He was unproblematic when he came to other artists out there. I mean, yes, you're gonna have squabbles, you're gonna have disagreements with other artists. It's natural, it's normal, with other promoters possibly, with management and all of that possibly. However, when you try to defuse a bomb, it's good rather than trying to detonate a bomb. And so when we look at a career of Shabba, he can come out in front of any crowd, young or old, and still bring a wow effect. His showmanship, his attire, his appearance on stage, his voice, his sound, and we know Bounty Killa has a similar sound, to Shabba. However, if Shabba came out on stage and should have closed the show that Alkaline was on, Shabba would have been well received and well respected. Persons would have stayed, because there's a difference when you respect yourself. There's a difference when you understand who you are. There's a difference when you stand 10 toes down in your lane. And there's a difference when you're sitting comfortable, knowing who you are and where you are and what you have accomplished during your tenure as a artist. When it comes to a Bounty Killa, People are looking at the past, and they have a saying that you study the past to know the future. Not only that, karma is a woman who always gets the last laugh or get her lick back. Persons keep looking at the history of what Bounty Killa is known to do when it comes to artists. Bounty Killa have a history of trying to blacklist artists, trying to gatekeep. These are not myth. These are not things that people are making up. These are persons who have spoken, who are artists, who have explained, who have come and spoke out about their experience with Bounty Killa. Bounty Killa himself have proudly spoke on trying to end people's career. I kid you not. He has spoke on trying to end people's career several times. He has spoke out on discrediting artists, trying to diminish artists' accomplishment and stuff like that. So he is known. He is known to be a gatekeeper. Stories are not being made about Bounty Killa. The surviving artists are here and they give their testimony over the years. So, when you decide, to do an interview on DJ Academics, and then you take a job at an artist who is well received by the mass of the people, despite the many who dislike him for more reasons than one, or for whatever reason. He is still loved, respected, and welcomed by a lot of persons out there. And you still, after many years, did an interview and you decide to disrespect him. He is on a show the second night after Vibes Cartel, and you came on the show and you're declaring that you're the headliner and your son was crowned king and all of that, big up to Vibes Cartel and all of that, and then it's like you're overshadowing the performance of an Alkaline who many persons came out to see. Your presence will not be welcomed and it will not be respected by the mass of the people. Yes, Chin is right about having formulating your songs to perform and to gain the attention of the younger audience and to modernize how you perform and your song selection. We get that, but it was not song selection that was the only discrepancy of Bounty Killa. It's also the things that he's saying. You're coming on the stage, you're using a lot of expletives, you're sneak dissing Alkaline, who many persons came out to see. The crowd is simply not having that. And I promise you, like I've said before, this will not be his last rodeo. He will have many more experiences to come should he go out on stage and do the same thing. Persons are just not having it. And I'm saying to you that had it been Shabba closing the show after Alkaline's performance, he would have been well received, and I'm almost certain that the crowd would have respected him. You come on the show and you started using a lot of expletives on the stage. You start bigging up Vibes Cartel, who is an arch rival of Alkaline. And not only that, you start declaring that you are the headliner for the show and it's this, and then you start using one expletives after the other. People are just over it because they realize that they don't have to deal with you. You see that energy that you push, that overly masculine energy, male-driven, ego-driven, all of that badmanism and that deep sound that you have in your voice, it just not taking in 2025. People are just not having it. And if people are just not having it, everything have an expiration date. And sometimes you have to know that you need to either change it up. We can't tell you to change your ways or to change your behavior because we're dealing with someone who functions like that. And they have absolutely no reason or they don't see any reason as to why they would make any form of adjustment, being that that was what put them out there. But unfortunately, that type of behavior is not going to last. If you can look at your career and be denied a visa for many years, given not only the type of songs about certain sexual orientation, but also professing violence and a whole lot of things out there that had caused you to not be able to work in the US or in North America, and getting back the visa and then you're on the same wavelength. It shows that you haven't learned anything. There's absolutely no growth. There is no maturity, and one have to accept it. And that's why I said a lot of persons are hypocrite, including Chin. You have to understand, or you have to be willing to speak the truth. And the truth of the matter is that there is no growth or maturity when it comes to Bounty Killer. He has that egotistical mindset, believing that he can still gatekeep persons, he can still put boundaries and limitations on other artists instead of himself and what he chooses to open his mouth and say on stage. And he believed that it still work in 2025, and he refused to move forward. He refused to advance. Apparently, it would appear that he cannot advance. And so you will have to learn the hard way, where when you go on stage and you say whatever it is that you feel to say, you will get a boo or you get a walkout, because persons are just not having it. The advice that you're giving someone like Vegas, it would resonate with. Someone like the Tanto Metro, the Devante, the Shabba. There are certain people out there who have certain sort of decorum to them. You understand me? And certain sort of understanding. So when you speak respectfully, it resonates. They have some sort of understanding where they can still learn. Unfortunately, for some other persons out there, if you choose to make some sort of suggestion as to improving how they perform and the things that they say on stage should not be offensive, they interpret that as being insulting, or you're sunning them. You're talking down to them. That's how they interpret it. It matters not how respectful you come. At the end of the day, it's ego over intelligence. And so they will interpret it that you are trying to insult them, and they will come at you. That's how a lot of persons are, including Bounty Killer. He behaves as if he's beyond reproach. He cannot be corrected, whether respectfully or disrespectfully. And these are people who have to learn the hard way. You understand? So it matters not, you're going to go into it, you're going to break down this and modernize music. Yes, you can say that when it comes to certain artists out there. You cannot say that when it comes to a Bounty Killer, because he believes that he dominates and owns dancehall music. And I'm not sure what is in that is not clicking. I think that you guys are playing a hypocrite at this point. And I think that you guys are just saying certain things because you want to make good out of a bad situation. You want to make him look good. You're trying to whitewash him. We're not saying that he didn't break a lot of persons in music, but it was also at the expense of trying to discredit and diminish the career of other persons out there. So which one are we working with really? So when we come to that type of understanding, we have to realize that it is what it is. He's a very disrespectful individual. And so the crowd have a right to boo him. The crowd have a right to walk out on him, to not be interested in hearing anything that he has to say. How dare you? You're 53 years old and you're going to come on stage and use a whole bunch of expletives to the crowd as if they did you something. And not only that, you're trying to diminish their artists who they pay good money to come out and see. So what are we doing here? Why are we trying to use euphemism, and we're trying to step on in stilettos and careful how we approach a certain topic and speak to it? You know, you want to be a grade A asshole, fine. But people are going to call you out on it. And people just not having it. They're just not having that moment. And so they're going to speak on it. And that's a predicament that Bounty Killer is in. So whether you want to take it with a grain of salt or whatever the case may be, the truth is the truth, and the truth will out. Persons are just not having you. Why is it that I ask a question? Why is it that had it been a Shabba, had it been a Super Cat, had it been a Ninja Man, though incarcerated, it would have been a different reaction from the crowd? Because those persons know what they're saying. You cannot just come on stage and be disrespectful to anybody and say just about anything, thinking that the crowd is not going to pick up on it. Or people are stupid. And that's what's happening. So it is what it is. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day. God bless you. Bye-bye.